Hey everyone, Aaron Stewart, Data Access Golf. Thanks for joining me today. I'm a little miffed. I had my Facebook Live video from yesterday actually taken down off Facebook because apparently that video that I showed anybody who saw it on Gary and Amy at the Waste Management Open was copyrighted material. I didn't think it was a big deal, but apparently it was. So anyways, taken down. So we'll, with that sort of, chip on my shoulder, we'll do something today that will not be taken down, and we'll see how that goes. So let's jump right into it. Cool. Thanks for joining me today. Good to have you here at Data Access Golf. Well, there. So it was kind of a bummer yesterday, honestly, that the live was taken down. I had downloaded and showed the interaction between Gary and Amy when they played the 16th hole there at Waste Management Open. I thought it was really cool. Thought it was awesome. Thought it was a nice thing to share, but apparently copyright laws aren't to be messed with. But I thought that it was PGA Tour right on the video. I said courtesy of the PGA Tour, and apparently that's not good enough. And I thought, well, man, that's a crazy algorithm to find it that fast. But based on the email I received, they know who I am. So we'll be more careful. So PGA, I apologize. Didn't mean anything by it. Just thought I was showing a nice video about the US Open winner, and I will not do it again so as not to upset the powers that be. Anyway, so today I wanted to interesting topic. Hopefully it's helpful to some of you, but I wanted to talk about wedges. I wanted to talk how wedges are set up, why we use different types of wedges, and what we're looking for in our wedge game. There seems to be a lot of confusion in the world of golf now because we have so many options with our wedges. And not only that, the manufacturers aren't consistent. From a standard wedge used to be straight up 48 degrees, and now we've got some wedge sets coming out with wedges as strong as 44 degrees. And we've got 4 irons being played as strong as 2 and 1 irons back in the day. I mean, dogs and cats living together. It's crazy town, right? And then we're hearing 4 irons are now going, 250 yards. Well, that's a 1 iron, and with a lot of fancy technology behind it. But that's neither here nor there. We're going to talk about wedges. So I've grabbed my wedges here. I wanted to talk about just some things that you hear and hopefully be able to show you what they're talking about, because a lot of these discussions happen on the radio, or you hear the pros talking about them, or they talk about them on TV, but we're not really given any sort of description, with actually holding on to something. So hopefully I can do a helpful job in kind of understanding wedges. So what you look for, obviously, in your wedges is they're your scoring clubs. And so you want to be as comfortable with your wedges as any other club in your bag. And we hear a lot of people going and getting fit for drivers, and we hear a lot of people getting fit for their iron sets, but sometimes with wedges, it seems to be more trial and error. Like people go out and try a bunch of different wedges and they try to figure it out that way. What I have found to be the easiest way to find wedges that work for you is buy them when you're buying your full set. So if you get fit for a full set, go ahead and get fit for your wedges too, and take the time to do it. You want those wedges set up to be the same swing weight. You really want to use the same shaft if possible, just to keep it all similar. Yes, there are tour pros that use different shafts. I have used like spinner shafts and different shafts in my wedges. When I wanted to get, like a spinner shaft was supposed to make it kind of narrowed it up by the grip, and it made it so it kind of lagged by a little bit more and had a little bit more pop in at impact, which was supposed to create more spin. which was fine, but there's a better technique for spin than relying on your shaft to do it for you. So I don't really look to change my shafts very much to do anything. I want to control all of that spin myself with my technique, and so we can apply different strategies and not be stuck with one shot because we have a shaft that's made for a high spin shot, right? So I've gotten away from all that, but you definitely want to set up your wedges. The best possible way, honestly, for amateurs is to, when you get fit for your clubs, and I know we've talked a lot about getting fit for your clubs and wanting to make sure that if you are going to make huge changes to your swing, if you are following our benchmarks and you realize you've got some big weaknesses in your game and you're going to work hard on improving in those areas, I would hold off on getting fit right now. There's no need to pay a bunch of money and then go get fit and then have to go get refit. Or if nothing else, if you go get fit, realize that you may have to go in, and usually it's just going to be a shaft change. And that's not too terribly expensive if you really like the clubs you found. If you found a good deal and you get fit, but you know you're going to fix your game, you may have to change your shafts a little bit based on your swing speed increasing. I mean, we definitely see that when your golf swing gets to be closer to your natural motion, and when you begin to move the pressure in your swing, the ground forces in your swing to the right place at the right time, you can see swing speed increase, and you can see consistency increase, and you can see ball flight changes. All of that would affect maybe going and changing your shaft to better fit your game based after these improvements that you make, okay? So that's one thing to keep in mind, but definitely do that when you're looking at wedges. Get them fit with your irons, and then everything's kind of more consistent. And we talk about at Data Access Golf all the time, making sure that our games are that everything is as simple as possible, so that when we have time to practice and we have time to play, we can be as proficient and skillful as possible, taking all the variability out of it. Definitely one way to do it is make sure that your wedges and your irons are all the same setup. Okay, same shaft, same swing weight, same grips. All of that, I think, makes it just a lot easier, just simpler. Okay, so with that being said, now I wanted to get kind of up into, I'm going to pull up a couple of my wedges here. So I like to play so I have in my bag a 52, let me get them organized properly, a 52, a 56, and a 60. Okay, 52, 66, 60. And you can kind of see the bounce, 12, 14, and 12. Okay, so let's talk about gapping, and let's talk about bounce. First off, I know that my wedge here, I had it checked, and it is 48 degrees. So check your wedge. These manufacturers are really messing with us. And these wedges are anywhere from like 48 to like 44, 42 degrees, just depending on how the club's built. Like if they have a club that can launch the ball higher just because of the weight distribution, then they'll probably make it stronger so you can hit it further. So that messes things up with your gaps, right? So I know that each one of my wedges then, as you saw, I've got my wedge that's 48 degrees. I've got my gap wedge at 52. I've got a sand wedge I call my sand wedge my 56. And then a lob wedge, whatever, at 60, right? So they're all 4 degrees apart. Now, how I utilize these wedges, and this is different for everybody, and this is what I love about wedges, is you can now, because we have so many variabilities and so many options now with bounces and with the width of the base of your wedges, there's just so much we can do with them now. And once you understand your game, you can create a wedge set that works really, really well for your game. And this particular setup is great for my game, and I'll explain why. First off, I do not like to hit anything more than I do not like to hit my 60-degree wedge full, and very rarely do I do that. I have, and this is my 60-degree. So you'll see with my 60-degree, I have 12 degrees of loft. Well, when I put this club down on the ground, it has for me and how I play, that gets pretty close to the ground because I like to have forward shaft lean, and then I like to come into the ball and expose the bounce a little bit and hit soft shots. So 12 degrees works well for my swing. There is less loft, and there probably is time when you would need that if you had very, very tight lies, but I don't play on a course that has very tight lies. And I don't, like Gary Woodland, don't have to hit off the green very often. Okay? But if I did, I would use my 60. So I never really hit this thing full. I will open it up. I will do all kinds of shots with it, but they're never full shots. I just don't like to hit my 60 full. So this has been developed to help me with the little shots around the green, especially when I'm in trouble and I need something high and soft. Okay. Then I've got the 56 degree, and you'll see that it's pretty well worn. I use it a lot. Okay. This is everything to me. I like to hit this club full. So you'll also see that it's a very narrow flange. I don't have a lot here. I've also had some heel relief put onto this club. And heel relief essentially is removing some of the club, removing some of this area here, so when the club comes into the ground, there's less to grab the heel and have the club hood through the ball, right? So I have some heel relief where it's been taken off. So this is the club. If I'm around the green and I'm in rough, this is what I use. I have heel relief. I have very little bounce, so I can get down through it. I have a very narrow flange, so I can get down through the grass. But I've got more bounce with 14 degrees because I take huge divots. So I need some relief there when I'm hitting full shots. And this is the club I like to hit full shots with around the green. Okay, and I don't mind if I've got, and then my 52 degree is also, that's my 60. I apologize, I'm not organized here. Okay, so then my 52 degree, if you see this, it has a narrower flange than my 56, and it has 12 degrees of bounce. So I hit this thing off the fairway full. I very rarely hit less than full shots with my 52 degree. The only time I would is if I had a long bunker shot. And so I like to not have the bounce of my long bunker shots. I like to go through the sand and I control it with my wrists. I don't like the bounce through sand. And some people will. Some people have huge flanges to help the bounce through the sand. And that's totally a possibility. You could have one of these, say your 60 degree, you could have it with a huge flange to help you on the sand. And just know, okay, that's the one that I use. It's high loft, so I can use it around the green, but just know it's got this huge flange, so it's not going to be very good going down through, say, a heavy rough lie. So then you'd want to use like your 56 degree. That has, as in my case, it has a narrower profile and it has some heel relief to get down through it, right? So hopefully you want to make sure that your wedges get your pitching wedge measured, and then you want to gap out your wedges. It doesn't matter if you have 4 wedges or 3 wedges, but you just want them evenly spaced. And then depending on where you play, make sure that the bounce works for where you play. So if you play on hard pan, dry fairways, then you would want to have something with maybe less bounce than I have. I've got 12 and 14. Maybe you want an 8 and a 10 because you just don't have as much grass to worry about. So you really want to develop, and we'll see tour players switching their wedges and the bounce of their wedges depending on where they're playing. You will see all the guys switch their wedges out for the British Open because it is harder there. They will have less bounce as they go and play the British Open. So really cool stuff. So don't look at all the variabilities in wedges as anything other than the opportunity to get it exactly right. To make it as simple as possible, have your wedges fit when you get your irons fit. And try to have your wedges and your irons with the same setup. It's just easier. Same grips, same shafts, all of that. It's just tons easier. And then based on where you play most of your golf, then worry about bounce and relief. So if you have, and this is another thing too, if you find that on your shots, approaches to the green with your wedge, that you seem to pull everything left, maybe look into having a little heel relief done and having a little ground off there. Or maybe go with a smaller flange down at the bottom. If you happen to take huge divots, you can go with more bounce and a wider flange at the bottom, a wider base at the bottom. There's just so many cool things you can do based on how you like to hit the golf ball. So wedges are incredible. I think that they're undervalued as amateurs, and they're such a strategic club if you just know a little bit about them, where you can actually shave shots off your game if you have the right setup. So pick a wedge that with a bigger flange and more bounce for the sand. And just know these are the shots I hit with this wedge. And don't worry so much about the degree, whether it's a 60, 56, 52. Think of them as having their own little responsibilities, their own little jobs. Because really the difference between a 56 degree and a 60 degree around the green is just not that much. So make sure that they function for how you want them to function, right? So that's the kind of the thing with wedges that I wanted to get out. Make sure that the gapping is equal. Make sure that they are exact. It's best if they just match the clubs that you play with. You don't have to go out and have Vokey wedges because everybody else has Vokey wedges, and most Vokey wedges are cast anyway, so whatever. You don't have to have Vokey, but if you've got Titleist clubs, stick with the Vokey. If you got pings, stick with the glides, whatever it is, but just stay consistent. And even if you decide you want to go with glides, even though you play Titleist, then just try to get the swing weights right. And they can do that for you at any local golf shop. And try to get them so you are not trying to make different swings with different clubs. Unless you have a club that you absolutely never ever hit full. So my 60 degree, I never hit full. I hate to hit the thing full. It's only for around the green in specialty shots. Otherwise, I use my 56 for everything else. I will open my 56 up. It has heel relief, so I can do all kinds of stuff with it. I wear out my 56 degree way more than I wear out. I probably go through 3 56 degrees versus all the other wedges combined because I love to use it for everything. So if that's the way it works for you, then great. If not, cool. But definitely take time to use your wedges for your game and your benefit for where you play, and hopefully this makes sense. Until next time, remember, better data always means better golf. Thanks.